Today, we're going to talk about someone named Hassan. And his story, wow. It's an incredible testament to how powerful a single dream can be, especially when it feels like everything is stacked against you. And that really brings us to the core question, right? Can a dream actually survive in the dust? When it feels like the world is practically designed to keep you down, can one little spark of hope really make it through?
So, let's set the scene. I want you to picture a small, quiet village, but it's defined more by what it doesn't have. There are no big schools, no real opportunities to speak of, just dust roads and big, big struggles. That was Hassan's world.
But here's the thing. In the middle of all that, Hassan had something special. Something the dust couldn't settle on. Something the struggles couldn't crush. He had a dream.
Okay, so let's dive into the first chapter, A Dream Against the Odds. How does a dream even get off the ground in a place like this? We're about to see the real physical hurdles he had to clear just to walk through a classroom door.
And these weren't small obstacles. We're talking relentless daily hardships. First, there was the walk to school. Kilometers and kilometers, either under a blistering sun or in the freezing cold. Then, you got the other kids always taunting him. He's poor. He'll never be anything. And on top of all that, some days he'd come home to an empty table. No food. Can you imagine? But you know what? He had this little voice inside, like a constant whisper in his heart saying, "Keep going. Your future is waiting." That was his fuel. That was the promise he kept making to himself, step after painful step.
And his response to the bullies, it says everything about him. He didn't get angry. He just quietly told them, "One day I will prove myself." That's not just a comeback, that's a promise.
So, getting to school was one battle, but the fight wasn't over when the bell rang. Now, we get to the next test of his will, the streetlight vigil.
There was this one night. His family went to bed hungry. And that was it. That was the breaking point. He made a powerful decision right then and there. His dream couldn't just be for him anymore. He had to work, and he had to study.
Just think about this grind. After a full day of school, he'd go work at a tea shop. Then, when he was completely exhausted, he'd finally open his books. But here's the kicker: no electricity at home. So he studied under a streetlight. That single light became his entire world. And of course, people still made fun of him. But listen to what he'd say. It's so wise. He'd just softly reply, "Maybe, but I will try until my last day." He's not saying I'll succeed. He's saying I won't stop trying. Huge difference. All right, this next part, this is really the heart of the story. Because after all that sacrifice, all those nights under the streetlight, what happens when it all falls apart? After everything he'd been through, the long walks, the hunger, the working, the studying, you'd think this is where he finally gets his win, right? The payoff is coming.
Wrong. The exact opposite happened. Failure. He failed a really important exam, and just like that, everything felt like it was for nothing. Can you imagine that feeling? He was just broken.
And this is the moment that changes everything. When he's at his absolute lowest, his younger sister finds him, and she says to him, "Brother, you are my hero. If you stop, what will I learn?" Wow. Suddenly, he realized his journey wasn't just his own. He was her role model.
And that completely reframed it for him. The exam wasn't an end. It was a test. Not a test of knowledge, but a test of his spirit. And he decided, right then, that this was a test he was going to pass. Okay, so with that new fire lit inside him, we're heading into the home stretch. This is where all that persistence finally pays off. So, the big day comes again. He's standing in front of the result board. His heart is just pounding in his chest. He's scanning the list, and then he sees it. His name, Hassan. And not just on the list, at the very top position. I bet the tears were flowing then too, but this time they were tears of victory.
And just look at the difference. The then versus the now. He went from dusty roads and a constant struggle to a good job, a nice house, and a happy family. He didn't just lift himself up, he lifted everyone up with him.
This is where the story gets really beautiful, though. It comes full circle. Years go by, he's successful, and he goes back to his old village. And what does he see? A little boy studying under that very same streetlight. He asks him, "Why are you out here?" And the boy looks up and says, "Because I have a dream."
And Hassan knew exactly what to say. He tells the boy, never stop. No matter how hard life is, your dream will carry you. That's not just some nice quote. He lived it. The dream isn't the goal at the end. It's the engine that gets you there.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, a few things, really. Hard work really can overcome anything. Failure is just a lesson, not a life sentence. And most importantly, where you start does not decide where you finish. Your effort does.
So after this whole story, if you could only take one single phrase with you, what should it be?
It all boils down to this one simple sentence. It's the phrase that got him through every single tough day and lonely night. I believe in my dream. That's it. That's the core of it all, and it's something we can all hold on to.